is happening. But this is not what we're looking for. What we need is the who. The people aside from Isabella and Cooper involved in this business with the mansion, and the how they are now. Can't do much with these contractors, they won't be on file as employees. Still, leave no stone unturned. Look at the names, see if anything jogs my memory. Get a copy of said names so that we can look the contact details up, check if anything comes from that. Aside from those, we should not dwell on these. Although, even with the people working through the pile, the whole task still takes quite a while. It's a quarter of an hour later when we put down the papers with a sigh and move on to the clients. After every person, every important detail we may need have been noted down. Every important detail we may. Oh, alright. The clients next, upon Isabella's insistence, but that the sign-in form from the open house comes in handy. It even gives me a laugh when I spy the fake name I wrote on one of these sheets. Let's see. Ashley. Clever.
Why'd I even pick this name? It sounds so lame.
What name?
Nothing important. Just focus on those papers you have. We need to finish
Ashley.
this soon, before Seb suspects anything.
She snatches the paper from my fingers before the thought of hiding it occurs to me. Not that there's much secret in it. Isabella found me that afternoon anyway, though perhaps under the wrong assumption of why I'm there, but still.
Ashley?
I've been careless that day, failing look right without confirming where they were off to. While the butler is terribly efficient in keeping the right engagement from the public eye, there are other ways if only I've given it the time of my day. In retrospect, I've been too impatient to be done with a case to find something that would crack it after a year. Maybe my fear goes as far back as the day of the open house, not during the party last night.
Yeah, well, I was pressed for time.
Seriously? Ashley? Were you even trying?
Oh, come on. You didn't even notice I was the one who wrote it down.
Of course I wouldn't. Only an idiot would use his real name.
It worked, though. Admit it. It's genius. Who would have thought, huh?
It's genius. Admit it, I'm a genius. She responds with a roll of her eyes and drops the matter entirely by shoving the paper back to my hands. We lapse back to our respective tasks afterwards, wordlessly skimming through everything. Read, set aside, get another one. It's almost methodical, and in the time we've been here, we both managed to work out a rhythm. There's not much time for friendly banter anyway. The clock is ticking down on us. I'm giving it another 30 minutes until Seb realizes we've been here far longer than what a simple "I need to get my stuff from my cubicle" requires. The more we prolong or stay here, the more difficult it would be to come up with an alibi. Of course, if he's sleeping on the job, it certainly works to our advantage too. We would need to think of excuses that can potentially branch off and outward, but there will be time to worry about that later. Looking back at the sign-in sheet, I spot Luke Wright and Anna Wright listed up top. They were the first to write their names. Not that I don't know about them already, of course, but scanning through the list, a name immediately comes up to my attention. What? Beatrice, maybe?
Madeline Williams.
Who's that?
Something wrong?
Huh? No, just that I remember this girl listed here.
She frowns, moves her seat closer and takes careful read at the sheet. There's a long moment before she speaks up again, but from the way she tenses, She appears to be expecting the worst already.
What about her?
She was with me, in the group following Cooper, when we toured the upstairs part of the mansion, I mean. Rather loud one, especially when we took a peek into the attic. Kept talking about the ghost stories the whole tour.
Oh.
Then, do you? Do you think she's...
She was reported missing 3 days after.
Oh. There was a ruckus at the precinct the day her kin filed it. Threats were naturally given and the lack of progress that days later, desperate ones. Her family is willing to shell out all the cash they can just to find her. No avail, unfortunately. Officer Benjamin has been in a bad mood ever since he spoke with them. But what can he do? What can we do? He's tied. We're all tied. There's only so much we're able to do with everything that has been shoved into our hands recently.
She still hasn't been found. It's already been a week.
Isabella makes no further comment aside from a nod. Instead, she merely sits back on the chair with a distant look in her eyes, her hands balling to a fist in her laps as she struggles with her frustration. Or maybe it's anger? If she keeps at it, she might drop blood, but the moment doesn't last too long, thankfully. Soon, her grip loosens and she folds her hands back on her lap. The expression on her, however, it's one I've seen too many times in the mirror. What does one say to a person burdened not by the one loss but many, who carries it in her shoulders like a badge of shame? I've yet to find the answers to that myself. Until then, the only way is forward. Press on, see where this might lead us. And despite my own doubts and the uncertainties in this, a cursory glimpse of that look on their face is enough reason for me. I can't just give up. There's too much at stake, too much to lose. With a renewed focus, I continue, scanning each of the names for any sign of familiarity, if I've overheard any of it in the news or from the reports coming in the precinct. On the third and last sheet, I spot another one. Aha! I knew it! Beatrice Wilde. One I recalled from the newspaper obituaries. Died of a heart attack. A letter of correspondence expressing condolences to her family confirms as much in her files. Passed away at age 74 in the sleep.
She's at that age. It certainly could have been a natural death.
Right? Because if Isabella is to be believed, I'd like to be believed so. But 3 more letters turn up when I rummage through the stack. It leaves nothing more than foreboding feeling in me. They are all addressed to families of clients who have passed away in the past week. Regardless, these go into the pile of things worth looking into after our visit here, along with William's info sheet. There are just so many names, so many faces. Each one. I've seen that day and here I am wondering if they are all right. If it's not a selfless thought that brings the question to mind, rather it's the logic that if more of them are still alive, the more people I can choose to question. Nothing is concrete, but we're making progress. Even though the whole half of it is a bunch of still unfounded speculation. Once down, with the sign-in sheet, I hastily stash it along with the growing pile to my left, and pull out as many of the other documents Isabella has already prepared for me. Remember mentioned, we're working through the employee list now. Those who have been assigned to the mansion. That's gonna be super interesting. Because if Isabella is to be believed, if what she's seen and what happened to Rose Cooper is because of that letter, I need to know everyone who has possibly read it aside from the 3 of us. I also need to confirm if they've been noticing strange things too. For all I know, these may have just been a terrible coincidence, although the thought of that starts to diminish as the fire beside me grows. 15 minutes later, the stack close to my elbow has risen from 5 to 21 different dossiers. Client and employee documentation, people who have either visited the open house or worked on the property in some capacity since the later discovery. Turns out, there have also been 2 more BRC employees who directly handled the mansion aside from Cooper and Isabella. Christian Sy, the realty specialist, and Mark Julius Jean-Marie, the estate appraiser.
This C guy, he was in custody just the other day.
Really? Sir John has been looking for him. He stopped reporting to work a few weeks ago. Are you sure it's the same person?
Yep, this is him. Folks at the precinct said they went to his house after a noise complaint. They found him just acting all crazy. Had to take him in when he started getting violent.
Acting crazy?
He kept screaming about a woman.
Oh, so that would mean he read the letter. Immediately she stiffens. I don't want to bring it up or imply a connection to Isabella's story, but it is exactly what happened.
It was driving the guards mad, but he didn't last too long in there. A few hours in and he just started bashing his own head against the wall and, well...
What?
It was messy, to say the least.
Killed himself?
Oh no, we had no idea. Is he okay? HR just marked him as AWOL because none of their calls would get through.
He's in the hospital right now.
Oh,
I
he's
heard they're
alive.
putting him into a psychiatric ward as soon as he recovers. He's still a bit unstable.
Jean-Marie, on the other hand, his employee file marks his date of leaving and even his full payment had been given. Along with it, a letter to his family about the appraiser being found dead in the office. Communication is hush-hush and there is mention of compensation if they don't talk about it to the media. Inspector Abigail has often scolded me for not regularly reading the reports, but I try to keep up to date as much as I can. When I do, I make sure I'm aware of the gist of what's going on in my city. This has never reached the police ears or their health and safety executive.
Do you know about this guy?
One glance at her says everything. They've hidden it from the media. They've kept it from the police. Not surprising, this will also be a secret from someone of Isabella's position in this company. Fuck.
Rose was looking for him last week. We haven't heard anything from him either. Until now. They never mentioned this to us.
Business going under and someone dies while working here? Of course they wanted to keep that mum. It's bad publicity. This whole thing is just getting freakier the deeper we delve into this. Nevertheless, I hand the files for Isabella to make a copy of.
The pages with their names, addresses, and contact numbers will do. We'll start with the ones who live within the city.
Sometimes there are things you really can't just brush off as a mere coincidence. In my line of work, once a pattern pops up, it's only right to be suspicious. Especially the thing with C. It's too similar to the stuff my own friends have been telling me.
All of this?
It's a considerably thinner stack than the ones she has brought in, yet somehow, the way she hugs the folders close to herself makes it seem heavier. Like she's hanging onto it in the same manner one will latch onto a lifeline.
Only the noteworthy ones.
And those that might still be alive might. Jesus, sorry about that. She doesn't need to know that little tidbit.
We can't check the outside contractors, but the guys with the direct connection to BRC and the people who attended the open house should be enough. We don't have time to see how everyone's doing, especially if what you said is true.
For a second, she appears about to argue